Alright folks, welcome to your Monday lesson. Okay, we're going to move on with our disasters and the environment, and today we're looking at hurricane response. So we looked a little bit at preparation and stuff already, and we're going to continue a little bit with that and just go into a bit more detail. Okay, please head up your page, and there's a lot of notes for today, a lot of writing. Okay, and a quick assignment at the end I will go through. So first bit of notes: when should you prepare for a hurricane? So when should we start preparing, planning, predicting, and all of this? Okay, so before we respond, when should we start planning? We got a couple of stages, and again, this stuff is very important for helping with your assignment later as well. So please make sure you get a note of this and read it over. A hurricane warning. A warning means that hurricane conditions are expected, whereas a watch means the conditions are possible. So a hurricane warning means a hurricane is going to happen, whereas if you're put on hurricane watch, it means maybe it might happen. Okay, hurricane warnings also will indicate how strong the hurricane is. Now, going hand in hand with that, storms also go through phases before being called a hurricane. So firstly, the storm is called a disturbance. Okay, maybe a tropical disturbance out at sea. As it grows, it becomes a tropical depression. Okay, it's called that because of the air pressure. Alright, it has very low air pressure. When it gets even faster and stronger winds, we call it a tropical storm, and then once that 74-mile-an-hour winds has been reached, it becomes a hurricane. So it goes from a disturbance to a depression to a storm to a hurricane. Okay, so weakest, stronger, stronger, strongest. That's the way we would do it. So make a note of all that, please. And next of all, then we're going to look at responding. So those last little bits were like, when should we start thinking about getting our act together? Okay, as we move through these phases, okay, once you pass a hurricane watch, if a hurricane warning's in place, how do we respond then? What do we do? So have a little look at these three photos here. What kind of responses can you see? All right, then we also need to think, are these happening before, during, or after a hurricane? Now, unfortunately, as organizers, we like to think we are, quite often our responses come after a hurricane, when it might even be a little bit too late. Also, I want you to think about why each of these responses is happening. If you can understand the responses, it helps you understand what the dangers are of a hurricane, okay? Because then obviously we respond to those dramatic effects. So we got up here, okay, people moving, okay, the police are helping people move out of their homes and move away from a storm zone. Alright, so that could be before a hurricane, or else it could be after the damage is done. Alright. Here we've got emergency services, looks like an army helicopter and volunteers here bringing in, this is water and other foods. Okay, so again, bringing in supplies for people. All right, that could be before, during, or after a hurricane. This one's kind of tricky to see, but these are all army vehicles and army staff, so they could be asked by the government to go into a certain place which is being affected by hurricanes. All right, again, to help people, find people, keep things safe, and so on. So just make a little note of those there. We got people moving or evacuating. We got food and medical supplies and fresh water being sent in, and then you've got the army going in to try and maintain safety and order. When we talk about responding to a natural disaster, okay, this is where it gets a bit confusing. We talk about the 3 Ps. So it's 3 Ps when you're talking about responding to a natural disaster. Now we're obviously going to look at hurricanes, but what are the 3 Ps that we think we use? So we got a map here with possible routes a hurricane may take. Alright, we've got some stuff here, okay, from NEMA: know your zone, build a kit, stay informed, make a plan. And you've also got this building here. Now this isn't necessarily for hurricanes, but it's got lots of different features that make it very well built. Okay, so our 3 Ps are in fact trying to predict where the storm is going to go; protection, trying to protect buildings and people; and planning, trying to make sure in advance. Okay, planning is ahead of time that things are going to go okay. Okay, trying to plan for what might happen. So if you can do these 3 things, if you can predict the storm accurately, protect homes and people, and plan accordingly for any outcome, your response to the storm will be very good. Okay, so even though responding feels like something that happens after a storm, it's based on good planning, protection, and prediction. Okay, so our next little note: there's subtle, small little differences between these three things. Okay, so planning, this refers to actions taken long before a storm occurs, usually done with instruction from the government. So planning ahead. Okay, look at the Bahamas. We plan for these things because we expect them to happen. Okay, America is the same. So the government will be like, okay, during these times of the year, we're going to stockpile food. We might do this or this. Prediction is often done during a storm or just before it. Technology is used. Technology is key for this one. Is used to forecast what a storm might do, where it might go, where it might hit, and so on. Then protection. Methods taken before a storm to help defend homes and cities. Okay, so protection and planning are quite closely linked. We make plans to obviously protect ourselves, and then once the storm starts, we can try and predict what it's going to do next. Hurricanes are notorious. They're very, very difficult to predict, okay? Now, on the right-hand side here, I hope you can see that. I should have maybe made some of that text a bit bigger. Okay, they're examples of the 3 Ps. So your job is to sort them into the correct heading. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 different things. You need to decide which of these are prediction method, which are planning, and which are protection. Now again, you should have written down these 3 key phrases, so that should help you a little bit. And we're going to make a table, or you can do it in a list, I don't mind. These are your 3 headings, if you do a list with bullet points or if you do a table. Which of these are prediction methods? So for example, okay, let's do one here. So scientists use satellites to monitor weather and storms. Okay, so satellites are using technology to try and monitor or watch the storms. That would be a prediction method. Okay. What else? Flood defense is built. We build sea walls. Okay, that would obviously be protection. We're trying to protect ourselves. Okay, so all those different things. So have a little go with that. Okay, and we'll check answers shortly. On this is the correct answers here. So we got our protection methods, trying to protect buildings and people. Okay, prediction, again you'll notice planes and drones, supercomputers, scientists using satellites, always with technology trying to find out what's going on with the hurricane. Planning, houses built away from the coast, so we plan where we build our buildings, where we put them. Resources such as food and water are stored in advance. Okay, so again, see the way there's the word advance, future, okay, things like that, they happen ahead of time. Residents have personal emergency kits prepared, so before the event, okay. Emergency services trained before any disaster. So this is all planning. Our protection then is about trying to protect our buildings and so on. So buildings built on stilts to protect from flooding. Flood defenses built, all right. We look at this thing levees a bit later. So that's, we need to make a note of all of these and see which ones you got right, okay, and then change them. Now 2 more keywords. What about responding then? Is there different types? And there is, of course. Okay, so we've got immediate responses and long-term responses. Now it's important that you write down the example for both of these, okay, because that will help you understand. So an immediate responses happen when a storm is forecast or immediately afterwards. For example, emergency services helping vulnerable people. So immediately, as soon as we get that hurricane warning, not a watch. Remember, hurricane watch is just that it might happen. A hurricane warning is that, yes, it's about to happen. So immediately after that, we respond, okay, with different measures, usually trying to help people or get people out. Secondly then is long-term responses. These restore an area and reduce the impact of future storms. So the long-term response is actually more about making sure the next storm isn't as bad. All right, so for example, government will sit down and have discussions and then decide where to spend money on future defenses, okay, or what are they going to do in the future. So long-term response is actually about the next storm, whereas immediate response is about right now, this storm. Okay, we'll continue in the next video.